Chaim.
Laheim. Cheers. I'm drinking sparkling water. Dun, 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 dun. Boom. Hey, everybody. So we're just kind of getting finally settled here. And I'm going to do something with my Wi-Fi to make sure that the kids streaming YouTube TV or Netflix or whatever they're doing over there doesn't prevent my internet from going to crap. Good afternoon, Glenn.
G'day.
Glenn. What,
Glenn,
man?
where it's Saturday afternoon, boggles my mind still.
It's Saturday over there? No, today's
yeah.
Friday.
No, Friday afternoon. Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to say, they're not 2 days ahead.
It's something afternoon. Set priority device, MacBook Pro. Set prioritized for 4 hours. Ding.
I don't know what the week it is anymore, honestly.
Did you just say you don't know what day of the week it is anymore?
You know what? Since November, I don't know anymore. I just, I wake up, I look at my watch, and oh, today's Thursday. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know crap either.
Well, you work.
If you're from home, and it seems like I'm working every single day, so that doesn't seem to. I'm either working.
That's what happens when you're management.
I'm either working for Acme every single day, or I'm working for church.
You're a bigwig management employee. That's what happens.
No, I am not management. Bite me. All right, ready? Hold on, come on, aviation stats. Dude, we had almost 180 some people on a transatlantic flight the other day. I was kind of like, whoa, it's like almost full.
Nice to see that.
Was that those quarantine-free flights over to Amsterdam?
It was a flight to Amsterdam, but I don't remember if it was. I'm not really up on which flights have quarantine free or not. Good program. All right. I'm going to make sure I hit the record button up here.
Please do.
Wise.
All right, say something.
Something.
Why is my audio? Is that better?
Yes, it's fine.
You're fine. That's much better. Helps if we talk into the microphone.
Who's reading the disclaimer?
There's the disclaimer. You know, it's been like 2 months since we did that. Everyone in podcast land thinks we just did an episode yesterday.
Maybe we should make sure we don't say the date.
Let's see, we've had Halloween, Thanksgiving.
2 Thanksgiving.
Or in my case, Thanksgiving, Halloween.
Oh, yeah, too.
Yeah, we've had 2 Thanksgivings and a Halloween since our last episode. Dispatcher Mike is at fault. And I put out a statement at the beginning of the last episode saying, hey, it's my fault. Blame me.
I'm going to have to listen to it. I don't even remember what we talked about.
Neither did I. All right, where's my script? Okay. Why don't I read the disclaimer? Mainly because, I'm the only one employed.
Hey, I'm still getting paid, but,
Yeah, thankfully I've never had to figure out what furlough pay and how that worked.
I'm still on the payroll, so technically I you know.
Yeah, that's true. All right, here we go. 3, 2. The the Flying Life podcast is produced to promote aviation and the dispatch career. The hosts of the show do not represent their employers, and the show is used for awareness and entertainment only. All facts on the show can be found in the public domain, and there is no inside information being produced to you used to produce the show. And the show is not being produced for inside information either. Please don't get us fired. Flying Life Podcast, episode 67, recorded December 17th, 2020. Welcome to the Flying Life Podcast, podcast just about that, flying, aviation, and our lives. I'm Dispatcher Mike, a dispatcher for a major airline based here in the United States. Joining me again in this episode is Dispatcher Joe and Dispatcher Gregg. Joe lives up is a dispatcher for a major airline based in Canada. Gregg is a dispatcher-ish for a major airline also based here in the United States as well. Both Joe and Gregg are currently furloughed from their respective airlines, and, well, it's been a while. So, Joe, what's going on?
Well, my military job is busy, busy, busy. As things heat up around Canada, so I'm keeping myself occupied, and I'm looking forward to going on leave on Friday for 3 weeks. It'd be nice to just flight sim.
Are you going to go anywhere on your nice long vacation?
Man, there's nowhere to go.
And there's nowhere to go.
Yep.
Amen to that.
Yeah. I was briefly considering a trip to northern Illinois on Monday with the family, mainly to see my parents, and then I kept on looking at virus outbreak numbers and said, this probably ain't the smartest idea in the shed to do, so maybe we won't go do that.
Yeah. Like here where I live, if you don't live in a house, you're not allowed to be in it anymore. So, no guests at all. Yeah, like people said, oh, I've got people who have already bought tickets. They're going to fly out here, and they said if they don't live in your house, they're not allowed in your house. So tell them to not go, not to come.
Well, they're moving to my house temporarily for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, and yes, I fly X-plane. Woohoo.
Jealous of that.
Gregg, how have you been?
Wonderful.
Give me a short brief, because we'll do an extended what's been up with us since our last episode.
Well, let's see. Today's Thursday. Every day is Groundhog Day to me. My last day of real work was actually Halloween, October 31st, and then come November 1st, I was officially on furlough, and doing some odds and ends to keep myself busy, interviewing for different jobs. Have a couple leads, but ultimately hoping something happens that get recalled pretty soon. Now that there's a vaccine, things are trending hopefully upward, maybe sometime soon. But so there's that, and then there's other things going on in Congress that may have me get called back sooner. So
we did an episode 2 months ago. That was episode 66 that I dropped the ball and just released today. Um, but anyway, I believe in that last episode you were urging Congress to act, and I would just like to say that Congress acts just as quickly as I do in editing a podcast.
You could say that again. But you know what? There's more of a little bit of an incentive now. Maybe, I don't know. They want to get out of town for Christmas, and maybe they'll say, hey, maybe we'll do something for the American public. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
we'll see what happens.
yeah, so other than that, I've been hanging around, doing things around the house, watching a lot of NASA TV. I'm really impressed with the Starship that I don't know if you guys follow any of that stuff going on with
With SpaceX.
SpaceX and
Yeah.
the Starship, and that's been keeping me busy between that and the Falcon 9 launches. So every day my wife complains, "You're watching NASA TV again?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Why not? I mean,
Hey, it's aviation, right? It's things flying
Yeah,
Dude.
it's awesome.
just into
Did
orbit.
did you guys see the latest Starship high altitude test?
In Boca Chica where it belly flopped and crashed.
I mean, it belly flopped.
Yes.
And it came down like it was supposed to. And
That was cool.
the test was incredibly successful. It did exactly what they wanted it to do. It went up. It got to, I think, 40-some thousand feet. It turned. I mean, that thing's not small. I mean, it's not like I'm turning a bottle on its side and away we go. I mean, that was I think that top half is almost 150, 200 feet tall, and
Huge.
and it just flipped quickly like this and came down, and that was a great test up until the point where they tried to land and they just didn't have enough thrust coming out of the engine, and you know what? Here's the last takeaway of it. It hit the ground where they wanted it to.
Yeah.
It just hit the ground a little bit too hard.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was absolutely incredible to watch. My kids were watching it with me, and yeah, it was good.
It's the future in the making. So
Yep.
Okie dokie. So, in this episode, Joe put in some news articles, which we'll go ahead and cover. And then we're just kind of gonna sit around and shoot the crud, kind of just like a little hangar flyings, dispatch coverage, and I got some questions stuck in my head somewhere to inspire some conversation from us. But kind of a very low key podcast, mainly to see if we could still podcast. Just one of those things.
It's like herding cats, which I have experience with.
Yes, which you have experience with herding cats. So, without any further delay, let's go ahead and mash this button over here. All right, the first episode. Wow, speaking is important. The first article that's in here, it came from Gregg. So, Gregg, why don't you take care of it?
Okay, so the article it's aviation stats update. It's effective, or I guess it was as of December 15th, so just 2 days ago. And it's pretty it's a couple charts in there that kind of show what we obviously kind of know about business aviation traffic and commercial traffic year over year. It's down. What a shock, right? Just some quick stats that they have on here. For business aviation traffic for 2020, we're averaging 88 100 flights a day, which is down from 2019, which is about 10,800. So what, about 2,000 less flights a day? It's about 18.5%. On the commercial side, we're down about 46% year over year. Again, not much of a shocker because of COVID. Nobody's traveling. Um, International traffic, China is down. Although some of the airlines are starting to pick up their demand or adding flights going out to China. So that's a little bit of optimism there. On the European side, which is not in this chart, just from what I've heard through different articles, is the European is still, the borders are still up. There is no traffic that, unless you're quarantined, I guess, when you get out there. So there's literally no flights between the U.S. and the Europe. So hopefully that'll change in time, and that's going to be the key bread and butter to some of these airlines recovering, is this international traffic, and of course the business demand. So just some quick stats. That's all that this article shows.
Yeah, and you can definitely see the March the March plummet,
Yep.
and then in the Europe one, you can actually see that it started rebounding pretty well. But again, in November, when things started taking a slide there in Europe, you can see it start to dip again. But almost that dip again is also equal to what it was last year as well. So that's a strange phenomena there. It's almost like all the summer holidays are over and people go back to work for November, and then before the holidays start.
I did read in one of the aviation articles that the airlines are gearing up for a busy. Now, I don't know what they're looking at. Maybe it's pent up demand, maybe it's some outside sources, but they're gearing up for a quote busy spring break. Um, I'm not quite sure where or how they think things are going to be better by spring, but I guess when you compare it to 2020, anything's better, right? So maybe it's just in perspective. But down from 2019, I mean, you can't compare, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the business aviation is when you look at the business aviation traffic, they took the same big hit in March, but they pretty much were back to a small drop already back in June. And you got to think their people still needed to travel, business needed to be done, and instead of flying on the airlines, people decided to go and get a business jet. And I like what Glenn just said in the chat room. Let me show this. Things can only get better. Yep, which is true. When your numbers are in the basement, there's only one place for them to go. And that's hopefully up.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised it's only down 46%. Like when you think about where we were in March, April, that's still an improvement.
Yeah, but when half the people aren't there and half the revenue's not there, it's no good.
No, not good, but still better.
Yeah.
We're still flying empty planes.
Yeah.
All
A
right.
lot of cargo flights, though. That's the good thing.
Yes.
Cargo is the bread and butter right now of these airlines, almost all the airlines. And without that, I don't know where we'd be.
When the merger happened that I was a part of, the company I used to work for had a cargo fleet, and the company that we merged with said, "Nah, cargo's not really our thing. There's no money in cargo." Yeah. Where's the freighters now? All right. The next article says all 220 airline Air Baltic says goodbye to its last Boeing 737. This is Air Baltic in over there in Europe. But today the airline said goodbye to its last 737 as it delivered the plane to an MRO, an older looking aircraft as well. Air Baltic first began flying the 737 back in 2003, and in 17 years in service, the airline operated 20 different airframes of the type's classic family across. So they were flying classic, not new generations. But they've chosen the C series A220, Airbus A220-300 as the future of their airline, and great airplane, great service, and a lot less fuel than they have burning than they did from those classic jets.
Yeah, and more comfortable experience. And yeah, just all around better plane.
Yeah, it's a good looking airplane. Going through here, there's a picture of it, of one of the 300s sitting there. Looks like it's about to. I'm going to say it's about to land. Just its attitude that it's at, but just gorgeous looking airplane. I have not yet flown on one of these aircrafts personally, but yeah, they look really nice.
We have a question in the chat room if we want to wait or answer that, or can
Yeah,
we do it now?
I'm gonna hold that back.
Okay.
We'll answer that back down after the news.
Yeah.
All right, I guess over to me.
Yeah, Joe, why don't you take the next one?
Sure. So Australia's Rex airline has been approved to operate 737s. They are supposed to be getting their first one mid Q4 2020, so any day now basically, and they're dry leased. So they'll actually be operating them. They're planning on operating them between Sydney and Melbourne in Australia, and then they're going to have some more routes after that. Now, this is big news for them because before this, they were exclusively or almost exclusively Saab 340 operator, flying out to small regional airports. So it's a pretty big step for them to jump into jet flying and go head to head with Qantas, Virgin, and all the LCCs on those routes. Yeah, it says here they've got 57 Saab 340s of various variants. So yeah, there you go. These aircraft are coming from former Virgin Australia aircraft, so they should be fairly well maintained and local, probably pretty cheap.
Yeah, I'm guessing anything with airplanes and new are coming on to fleets pretty cheap, and that's a big step up going from the Slob to the 737. I've never been on a Saab before, but they're not exactly large aircraft, and I believe 34 people is the configuration I've always seen them in, and now you're going up into a 737. It's almost doubling or tripling your capacity
Like
per flight.
120 passengers, yeah, something like that.
Well, these are 737 800, so it could be as much as 189,
Yeah, that's
depending on
true.
how dense they are.
It depends on how much you want to pack them full.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good for them. It's going to be interesting to see, especially with most of the flying in Australia currently and all this year has been strictly domestic, and Australians aren't really allowed to travel anywhere, and so if you can't go anywhere, might as well just go ahead and go to somewhere else within the country.
yeah. Well, it's interesting timing too because I mean, and locals correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe even between New South Wales and Victoria, where Sydney and Melbourne are, there was Victoria was in full lockdown for months and months and months, all the way through till early or mid fall. So even if they had wanted to start this 3 months ago, they might not have been able to. So yeah, they're as the regions in Australia lock down independently.
It's like me and my family wanting to fly to Canada. Ain't gonna happen.
We don't want you.
You're not welcome here. Sorry, as I take a drink of a beverage.
Want me to take the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Next article is the. Oh, my computer just died. Here we go. UK Supreme Court rules an additional runway. Rules London Heathrow third runway a go. And all I can say is thank goodness. That will tremendously help Heathrow. They're building a runway. It'd be on the north. Let me start over. The main aim of Heathrow's expansion would be build a third runway north of the existing 9 left, 27 right. It would allow the airport to increase its capacity for aircraft as more landing and takeoff slots would become available. Heathrow is a god awful airport. They can't handle the early morning demand. Usually guys are holding 15, 20 minutes just to get in. The slots are terrible. So I'm hoping this extra runway will ease up on that a little bit and not be so restrictive. And although I don't know when they said that this would actually be when it would actually be. Actually, it says it was revealed that the crisis could push back Heathrow's new runway by 5 years to 2030 or beyond. So we're looking at least 10 years. So it's not going to happen tomorrow or next week.
Yeah, this is this is still one of those things. What's going to happen first? Mike retiring from the airline industry or Heathrow getting a third runway? And I say that tongue in cheek, but man, I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon. And in the article, which obviously will be in the show notes, has a good artistic rendering of what the runway could look like, and that's a pretty great configuration to have. Land on the outboards. My guess would be you would land on the outboards, depart the center, so you'd be landing 9 left right, departing 9 or 27 center. To me, it looks like it's a great, easy way to move traffic in and out of there. Now, those runways should be far enough apart where you could potentially run simultaneous operations to both runways there, which would also increase your demand in capacity at the airport. And as we all know, departure runways are you can launch more airplanes in a short amount of time than you can when you are landing them. So now you have great utilization of both runways. Listening to some podcasts and some friends who are closely tied to the London Heathrow operation, yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on actually getting the third runway built or in operation. And it looks, looking at the picture, it looks like a pretty extensive project that they're going to have to either build a tunnel under the motorway or build the runway over the top of the motorway. And to me, it almost looks like it's a tunnel full of turf on top. So it's not going to be a cheap project either. But if there was a good time to start
they charge enough for their
construction-
slots.
Yeah, that's true.
They charge enough for their arrival and departure slots, so maybe that'll fund it.
And maybe take the arrival and departure.
God forbid you
taxes.
divert a flight into Heathrow. That's not an emergency. You'll be fined, thousands and thousands of dollars. That alone can fund some of this.
Gregg, you seem to have a little angst towards our friends over the United Kingdom and their crown jewel.
Oh, I love
of
them
the
out
airport.
there. I love them out there. They're the greatest.
Never once was an issue with baggage.
They
handling.
are. I do.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I've flown into Heathrow, I think twice now, at least once. I've been to London. Great city, absolutely love it. Very easy to get into and to the city and out from a public transportation point of view. I have no qualms with Heathrow. It was just early in the morning and I was tired because I was up all night.
Their tube system is fantastic. I
Oh,
think
I
they call it the
love.
tube.
Yeah, the tube.
The tube.
The
It's
the Lo-
fantastic.
the London Underground.
Yep.
Yeah. Joe, you have something to say about London?
Only that I've only ever been through London. Never actually been to London. Stop on the way to Copenhagen, which fantastic city. I would
Copenhagen,
I would
Jagenbogen.
recommend that city in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Copenhagen and yeah, and then Amsterdam. Anything you could say good about getting around in London, I'm sure you could say about Amsterdam as well.
Yeah, or pretty much any city, major city in Europe.
Yeah, in the
Oh,
civilized parts of the world. Shanghai, for example.
yes.
Oh man, yeah,
No, I love Amsterdam too. I've spent a day or two in Amsterdam. Great city. Love to get back to the Netherlands. As you can tell, I'm a traveler, and I haven't had a chance to travel in almost a year. I've got some pent up demand of traveling. I'm ready to go.
yeah. I'm worried that I'm getting used to not traveling.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
normally I'd be heading out to Florida about now or heading somewhere warm, and I'm like, I can't even go anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
I,
My
I'm
mom and I
also
would be meeting in Vegas. Like it's not Christmas because we're not in Vegas.
right. You know, it's one of those things. Like I'm looking for someplace warmer because it's freezing outside, and I don't want to go outside.
Oh,
I have no
is it
pity for
cold
you.
down there for you?
Is it? Is it?
Oh,
Yes,
so cold.
it's 0 degrees centigrade outside right now. It's freezing
Oh,
out there.
It is not.
It is too. It is 0 C outside right now.
yeah.
It's
It's
flip.
going to be
See,
minus 15 overnight tonight, and that's not even cold. That's shorts weather.
Yeah, brother. I live in the South for a reason.
I'm wearing short sleeve. This is how I go outside of the house every day.
uh,
No jacket.
yeah, you're nuts. It's absolutely certifiable.
We all are. We work in the airline industry.
All right,
Yeah.
I guess I got the next one. Yeah, it's officially. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. It's 1 C outside.
Oh, see, you're not freezing then.
Heat wave. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Uh, Alaska Airlines A320 diverts with an anti-ice and avionics failure. Uh, Alaska Airlines Airbus was forced to divert to LA earlier this week in a mid-flight avionics and anti-ice failure. Excuse me. Ugh. The aircraft was operating a scheduled service from Columbus to Seattle on Wednesday when the incident occurred. Wait a second. Columbus, Seattle, L.A. According to a report on the Aviation Herald, A320 was operating as Alaska 1193 Wednesday evening, and the plane approximately 1,300 kilometers east of Seattle when the decision was made to divert. Complicating matters was a weather system developing over the Rockies, and the flight to Seattle normally takes around 5 hours. Going ahead. The diversion added about 460 kilometers to the flight, or about 40 minutes of flying time. Well, that's not too bad. Only 40
That's
minutes
kind of
extra.
surprising.
Yeah, it depends on the route.
Yeah.
You know,
Like you look
Columbus
on
to.
that route on that page where they show it to you, and it's like a hard
Pretty
left.
far north.
The
Yeah.
winds must have been coming down the south. Like that must have been that south jet along the coast or something.
Holy cow! Yeah,
Yeah, because I
that
mean, they were
doesn't
all the way
look.
up.
That doesn't look like 40 minutes of extra flying.
No.
It looks far.
I mean, you're up all the way, what, just past,
North
you're in
Dakota.
what, Montana? Yeah, North Dakota, and even
Yeah,
west of
you're in
there,
eastern Montana. Make a
Montana.
hard left to L.A. Wow. Well,
That seems like that would add more than 40 minutes, but
yeah, that's to me. I would agree with that. That's far. All right, so let's talk about this. You got your anti-ice that failed, so therefore you can't fly into known or forecast icing conditions. And if you have a storm system over the Rockies, like it said, that pretty much takes away anything over the Rockies. Traditionally, Seattle, this time of year, cloudy, overcast, rainy. My guess is you're going to have icing conditions going into Seattle, so you can't go there. And that kind of leaves of where you're going to divert to.
Yeah, yeah. The avionics part. I wonder if that was their weather radar, because like it sounds surprising that this time of year there could be convection over the Pacific Northwest, but like going into Vancouver, sometimes you can have convective clouds. They're low up 250, but you can still have those convective clouds forming along the coast. So that makes me wonder if that was also a consideration, because you would think somewhere like Salt Lake City or Vegas. I don't know if Alaska has maintenance in Vegas, but you know, there's places closer than L.A.
Yeah, and operationally
San
too,
Fran.
it all depends on where you're going to have an extra plane and an extra crew to get the people and the passengers and the customers to where they actually want to go, opposed to, hey, let's go to Seattle. Just kidding. Welcome to L.A. Yay.
Yeah, yeah. That's a heck of a diversion too.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Do you
big
have a date that
diversion.
this happened? This is on what day?
Like you wonder
December
if
17th is the article.
you wonder if they had a lot of fuel for a far alternate, or if they were tankering or something. Because even 40 minutes on a regular flight, if you got a close in alternate, like you're in your reserve fuel by that point.
Yeah.
Trying to see if I
Yep.
can pull up a surface analysis of that day.
Yeah.
You're such a weather nerd.
I am.
Well, pull up the 340 winds too.
This was November 17th. You
Yeah,
said?
that's what we. No, November or just was the article of today.
It was today.
Yeah.
This
The
is
article
today?
was today. No, this wasn't today. The article was today, but I saw it on airliners.net earlier in the week.
What date is this?
Look at the Av Herald link. It should say what it was.
I'm trying to find.
Seattle, Columbus, L.A., Seattle. Oh, that's maybe that's diverted. This happened the 16th of December. So
Yeah,
that's
yesterday.
what. For yesterday.
Yeah, happened yesterday.
Okay, Seattle had scattered 8, broken 15, overcast 26, with rain. At
Well,
least
that would
according to their METARs, yeah.
Well, that would explain why you wouldn't want to go to Seattle then.
Yeah,
Continue
rainy
on.
and misty. I don't see
And
anything
then
about
if you
showers
look
or
at
convective.
Colorado,
Altitude, man.
they pretty much had a low, pretty much as far north as North Dakota, all the way down to Panhandle, Texas. Yeah, I mean, it could have been icing pretty much anywhere in that, unless they wanted to turn around and, you know, go to
Go back.
northern Illinois. I mean, even then there was some icing in Chicago, so that might have been the only suitable place to go. Aside from, maybe San Francisco or somewhere in Idaho. I don't know. That would be questionable too. So
Alright, you guys are all playing on your toys. Let's really get this out, and let's say they.
what are you getting, a whiz wheel out? What are you doing?
I'm getting my whiz wheel out, brother. Crap. I'm getting my phone. I'm getting my fourth light. All right, so let's say they were. Let's switch this to a U.S. high. Let's say they were over Billings. It seems.
Yeah, they were over Montana for sure.
Yeah, I mean eastern side of Montana.
Dickinson's definitely still there. That's North Dakota. Let's say they were over Miles City, right? Flight plan. Clear all. MLS, 2K, Seattle.
They were at 380.
All right, miles to Seattle is 675 nautical miles.
That's pretty close. It said 700 east when they diverted. So
And miles to LA is 939. So almost 400 nautical miles difference.
yeah, which should be pretty close to an hour. So 40 minutes, that sounds right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's that
I guess. I
picture in
mean,
It
my
doesn't
it
look
looks
mind.
it looks
intuitive.
funky on a map,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If you were
but I
looking
mean,
at that
yeah, I
on a
mean,
map, you would not think that.
yeah, interesting.
it is intriguing. And anyway, I think we've played
You
that
put
one
a
to
lot of
death.
gas on there, though. That's the to be able to, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if you're going into a rainy Seattle or a rainy Washington, you're going to carry an alternate anyway. And
Yeah,
unless even if you carry Boeing Field, you know, that's a good 20-minute alternate burn there, and that's at low altitudes of alternate burn. Because you got to think, if you leave Seattle and you have to fly up to Boeing, you're not going to get there in 2 minutes.
right.
You can take off from Boeing Field in X-plane and land in Seattle in 2 minutes, but in real life, you're not going to do that.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
It is interesting. All right, Greg or Joe, why don't you take the last one?
Sure. All right. So UPS had a. I don't want to say it's an engine failure because it sounds like they kept it running the whole time, but they declared a pan on departure out of Dublin on December 10th. Apparently, they heard a big bang on the right engine with high vibrations. They immediately hooked around and came straight back to Dublin. They did keep so according. Apparently, they did keep the N1 running, but there was issues with the N1 indication in the flight deck. So whether or not they had much thrust on that engine is unclear. It doesn't look like they burned fuel. They said they came right. They landed 17 minutes after departure, and they only went up to about 3,000 feet. It's a fairly old aircraft. It was nearly 25 years old, and it was converted to freight in 2019. So it's a fairly new freighter, but a fairly old 6.7. But of course, airframe doesn't mean anything for engines because engines swap around all the time. So yeah, it's an interesting. It's another. What was it last time we talked? Wasn't it another UPS 767 in LA had an issue with engines? Can't
Was
remember.
that engines or was that landing gear?
Oh, maybe that was the gear. Yeah,
That was the gear issue.
yeah, yeah. It just goes to show those old planes can be maintenance issues. There can be gremlins. Yeah, so 3,000 feet with possible engine indication or vibrations. Yeah, it's not a great place to be in if you're planning on flying for a while in a big heavy plane full of boxes. Because those planes, like on a passenger 6.7, you may be loaded up to 75% of your max zero fuel weight, but those freighters they can load them all the way right up to the max regularly. So, it's a fairly heavy plane for those freighters a lot of the time. So,
It's kind of reading where the old airframe's been a little bit of an airline uh all over the place with airlines as the airframe. It's and then it got made beautiful and got a big cargo door cut in the side
yeah,
and became a BCF, a Boeing converted freighter, and good solid airplane 767 for the freight business, and it's still somewhat new to the freight world in a way. Used to be a lot of not a lot of tri-jet freighters, but the 76F has been definitely coming around with both FedEx and UPS and a bunch of other cargo carriers, and Amazon is really using the 767 for their freight movement service, aka the delivery of Santa's toys to my house, Amazon, and it's working great. I have a feeling the 767 ain't gonna go anywhere for a while, and there'll be 767 freighters for quite a long time because it's a pretty solid airplane.
yeah. So apparently this plane was only going to Cologne, so it wouldn't have had a lot of fuel, so there'd be probably no need to dump fuel. They'd probably be under their max landing weight. Cologne from Dublin's maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours.
If I remember correctly, UPS has a large European hub in Cologne, and they even have a pilot base in Cologne as well.
Yep, they definitely do. I actually fly for UPS Virtual Airlines next plane
It it's
in the A300.
basically it's basically the Louisville of Europe.
Yeah, and it's not even just them. FedEx also has a fairly substantial hub there as well.
Okie dokie.
That's
Alrighty.
the news.
Blah, blah, blah. That's the news,
That's
folks.
the news.
Alrighty. So I'm gonna hit this button as soon as I find my mouse pointer. I'm gonna hit this button here.
Bumper.
Okie dokie. We had a question up here from James that I want to cover now here. He says, "Are more NAT tracks, which would be the North Atlantic Organized Track System, an indicator of more flights? I looked at them at the beginning of October, and there was only one track. Recently, there were three. I didn't look at who was flying or the number of flights, but assumed they wouldn't need three tracks unless there were more flights." You know, I could kind of say yeah to that, but I just looked at this evening's tracks, and we're back to a Zulu track and Alpha track. And there are still some rumors that the North Atlantic OTS is potentially going to go the way of the Dodo still. Um, Joe, I think, is very happy that the tracks are going away.
Yes, I
Oh,
would.
yes.
Yes, definitely.
Random routing is the thing.
Oh yeah, random routes are right. So let's talk a little bit. I don't exactly know anyone that works in Gander or Shanwick that draws out the tracks, but back in the day when airplanes used to fly over the North Atlantic in grand fashion, airlines, much like Acme and Acme North, we would send usually automatically UPRs, which are user preferred routes, or basically our flight planning system in the background, kind of doing a quick wag at what kind of a flight we might want to be flying. And we'd all send those UPRs over to Gander and Shanwick by a certain time each day. And they would go ahead and map all of the airlines flying out. And from those UPRs, they get this nice rainbow chart of where all the airplanes are going to go. And that's how they'd build the tracks. They would literally put the tracks right in the middle of where all the airlines said they were going to go flying to and from. So that's how the Nats used to be made. I do know that we still do UPRs, but there's just no traffic. And James is asking, really, why? As in, more my guess of why is the tracks going away? They're outdated. Everyone is going to the point where we're flying random routing, and we're also getting to the point where our friends over in Gander and Shanwick and subscribe to Arion, who Arion's a company that attached ADS-B equipment to, I think it's Iridium satellite network, and now you have space-based ADS-B, and so now you can get targets almost like it's radar over the Atlantic, and it's the point where you just don't need them anymore.
Yep.
And I always found that when I filed jets on the track, they would often get rerouted to a random route, or they would be rerouted to a different track other than the track that you flight planned them on. So personally, from my experience, unless there was a significant time or fuel savings, I would usually just do a random route just to avoid possibly getting a reroute or any other problems. So the tracks are a nuisance to me.
Yeah, track planning is always a crapshoot. If you're going to get your altitude, if you're going to get your speed, Are you going to go to track north or track south? I remember we used to always put supplementals on the flight plan. We'd always put a supplemental of a track north and a track south, and then you'd also put a supplemental of a different flight levels. And next best flight level is either going to be higher or lower, and what's the because you're on the track, and generally speaking you're planning a solid altitude across the ocean. You're going to cross it flight level 330 Mach 8, 79, and you're on that track and that stretch the whole way. Even pre-COVID, we were getting to the point where we were getting half tracks in PBCS flight planning, which is performance-based surveillance something. But basically, it was bringing those tracks a lot closer together and reducing the separation in between the airplanes as well. So that went through and changed, and it was getting there. But, I think it's always been a dream of Shanwick and Gander in the industry to absolutely positively just get away from the tracks, period. And this is the greatest opportunity in the world to get rid of them because the traffic just isn't there. And now you'll have the controllers getting used to the fact that there's no tracks with a reduced load.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. So my airline flies 737s across the pond. Um, um, and it's funny, we shifted our base of operations so that they were further away. And as a result, we were able to get our 737s on top of all the wide bodies, and that made our lives so much easier. Even though it added 45, 50 minutes to the trip, being able to have the distance in radar coverage to climb makes such a huge difference. But even our flights out of like Dublin, sometimes coming back towards North America, they just get trapped underneath all the wide bodies. Your plane could climb up to 410, for example, or 380, but sorry, all of the Emirates and KLMs are all at 310, and you can't get through them. Not enough time. So yeah. So
All right.
the Pacific, they do have an OTS, but I don't think people use it all that much.
Dude, I was just gonna say this and type it in the chat. When I was dispatching international, I would much rather dispatch in the Pacific than in the Atlantic. The Atlantic, very rigid, very hard. This is the way you're gonna fly, and damn it, this is where we're gonna tell you to fly. So just shut up and fly the way where we tell you to fly. The Pacific, on the other hand, Oakland Oceanic covers most of the Pacific Ocean, and I think you could flight plan yourself a circle in Oakland Oceanic airspace, and they wouldn't care. I remember, I think it was about 5-6 years ago, Oakland Oceanic came out with the UPR routes, and that's user preferred routing, and the NOTAM said that user preferred routing trumped people on the tracks. Basically, they wanted people off the tracks, period. There is still the Pacific, the PACOTS, the Pacific Organized Track System, still gets published twice a day, but the number of tracks, again, COVID land is down a bit as well. Traffic on the Pacific, I don't think is down as too much. Obviously, passenger traffic is down, but obviously the freight traffic is still bringing stuff from China back and forth and across the Pacific.
Yeah, I think the hardest part of planning across the Pacific, not that I have a great wealth of experience with it, is to Hawaii. And that's where the tracks can screw you, depending on where they make landfall. If you're trying to do funky stuff going around the airways over to Hawaii, you can burn yourself if you try to cross one of those tracks at the inopportune moment.
Yeah,
Like where Oakland Oceanic is a lot more anal about doing things right and not cutting across airways and stuff. It's definitely between Hawaii and San Francisco.
Yeah, but they still even got to the point where you could cross some of the airways going down into
Oh yeah, believe me, we do too.
Hawaii.
And it's cool too that Oakland Oceanic's pioneering the use of cost index and variable speeds. So that would be awesome too because you can save a bunch of fuel.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's absolutely. I love dispatching the Pacific.
Yeah.
I love Oakland Oceanic. They do a hell of a job, and they are the largest fur in the world.
I've never had
They're
the
actually
pleasure of
they're
doing it.
actually not.
Yeah, they are.
No,
Okay, what's big?
Edmonton FIR is bigger than Oakland.
Oakland goes all the way down to New Zealand. They got they got the whole Pacific.
Yeah. Okay. So Edmonton says they control the most airspace under one roof. I think Oakland Oceanic's divided among a couple of buildings.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So Edmonton FIR actually in one room controls more airspace than anywhere else in the world. And I only know that because I went there. Yeah. So I'll put it to you like this: like sometimes when the Pineapple Express is flowing, we got to fly some of our flights out of Vancouver down to Hawaii, and we basically fly all the way down to San Francisco or LA before we start heading out. You kind of cross some of those airways. We will call Oakland Oceanic and talk to them about it. Whereas if I was trying to do something like that in the North Atlantic, I wouldn't even bother. I wouldn't bother calling them because I know the answer is going to be no.
Yep, I agree. I'm looking for a fur map right now to see if we can put this in the video.
Yeah, the tricky part with Edmonton is depends on your map projection, right? Like the Arctic is actually really, really big.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah, you get the Mercator map projection, and it's a piece of, junk. There's a West Wing episode about the Mercator projection.
Sorry.
Anyway, finding a world IKO map is very hard because I'm getting flashbacks from March and April, and trying to find one. Yeah, I know Sky Vector. But there's a bunch of gobbledygook in it.
Yeah, so Oakland controls down to just off the coast of Tijuana, then a straight shot south, and then they stay about halfway between Hawaii and Fiji, and then they go down through the Cooks and Marshalls and up to Guam, and then there's a fairly significant chunk by Japan that is not part of Oakland Oceanic either.
Right, yeah, and that's where you get Fukuoka for
and then Anchorage
East, or somewhere around there. Yeah.
This is all Greek to me. I have zero experience with the Pacific and any of those
zero
fur.
Experience with the best ocean in the world.
I just know the North Atlantic.
Oh, come on! What about waters?
I gotta get a new qualification or something when I get called back because all I know is Atlantic. No, I don't even do the waters stuff. That's all covered by South America region in Caribbean.
Okay.
So.
Alrighty, so that'll answer the questions on the feedback. Thanks, James, so much for the questions. We do absolutely appreciate it when you're watching us live and giving us questions. It's really great, so we do appreciate it, and thank you for inspiring that conversation, which we absolutely had nothing planned for.
And for those who follow us as a podcast only, there is a visual medium to this audible medium. There is a video.
Yes. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what's been going on in our lives since we released the last podcast. So, I had dinner.
Once? That's it? You only had dinner once?
I do digress. So, as I said at the beginning of episode 66, which Gregg and Joe have not heard yet, between me working in this chair 3 out of 7 days and then doing a lot of video work for my church and recording masses and bringing stuff home and editing on the computers and all that, I was pretty much burned out of being inside of this room. And anytime I was not working or working from church, I didn't want to come in here and do any other work because I was sick of it. And so I didn't. Which is why I never edited the last podcast, and why I, just didn't, because I liked being out of the room, outside, going running, going walking, spending time with the kids, doing anything other than sitting in front of the little MacBook, and so that's what I've been doing. My life has been work, church, and YouTube. I have produced more YouTube videos so far this year than I have in any other time, and we've had a YouTube channel with the podcast for quite some time. So that's what I'm up to.
That sounds
I still have a job. Work is kicking my butt, and I'm trying to balance all the work and all of my responsibilities in the reduced amount of time that I have to work. And yeah, it's good. So let's go to Gregg. Gregg, how's it going?
so like my life is a complete 180 of yours. I don't know what the word work means. As I said at the beginning of the podcast, as of November 1st, I was furloughed from my company. So um, there's good and bad with that. Obviously, bad because I don't have a job, but I am getting technically on the payroll through the end of January. So I'm still getting paid. So I'm getting paid to sit and watch Netflix and do all that kind of stuff. Um, I am looking for other jobs, and I actually have keeping up with the dispatch theme. Have been interviewing for a different kind of dispatch, public safety dispatch, aka 911 operator type stuff. Had a couple interviews with different communities out here in the northern Illinois area. So there's some that are promising. Problem is the training on that. It's pretty intense, and it's almost a half a year of training, depending upon what you get qualified for, and all the different jurisdictions and all that kind of stuff. So that's a lot of time to learn a whole new industry, and with the airline industry, you don't know when you're going to get called back. So it's kind of, do I go to a whole new career, or do I, get called back at my airline and continue doing that? So we're just kind of waiting and see what happens. But living the life right now, it's kind of like a paid vacation, but nowhere to go. So driving my wife nuts, every day she yells at me. I got a kid in school doing the online school, and my wife does work from home. So between the two of them, I got to find a way to get out of the house sometimes, just get out of their hair. So, but yeah, so that's kind of where I've been. I do want to get X Flight on the Xbox when it comes out, if you can find an Xbox, and then
Yeah, don't get me started on that crap.
yeah, want to get the Xbox and then get X Flight, which I think comes out in the spring. So
Yeah, I made the decision somewhere around beginning of November that I wanted to get one of those things that Gregg was talking about. I can't really say it so loud because there's someone upstairs right above me. I'm pretty sure he could hear me, so I'm not going to drop any things. But I wanted to get one of those things, and I guess I should have made that decision back in July when they were announced and pre-ordered.
yeah.
And apparently there's a bunch of special people that I think should burn in hell that created bots to buy them all up and try to sell them on eBay for $1,000 and double their money. So those people can go shove it. But yeah, I'm in the market for one of those things as well. So your public safety, you had to take a couple of assessments or
Yes.
tests. So tell us a little bit about that.
So there's two different types of tests. One actually took so the hiring process basically is you have to take this test called as a critic call, they call it, and it's a complete online simulation. So there's several different parts of this test. There's multitasking, there's typewriting, there's listening to a call and dictating what you're hearing. That's the biggest part of the test. They'll do like 5 or 6 simulated calls, and then you have to type in exactly what you're hearing, the address, the different types of what emergency is going on. And while you're listening to a call, they're flashing something at the bottom of your screen, almost like an ACARS message that says emergency. And you got to click on that emergency button, and it gives you like a little mini scenario while you're listening to an actual call and having to take notes. And you have 15 seconds to answer that mini scenario while still listening to this other call. So they're really testing you to see, okay, can you multitask? Can you prioritize? That kind of thing. Map reading, that's one big thing. Spelling, grammar test. So it's about a 2.5 hour test. There's 8 different sections. And you don't get the results right away. You have to wait, like, I had to wait 3 weeks to get the results.
Did you find that the skills that you had as an aircraft dispatcher transferred over well to becoming
Oh yeah.
to this test, or was it something like, oh crap, what am I
No,
getting
I
myself
think
into?
because a lot of it is just, can you multitask? Can you listen to a phone call and still do other things while you're listening to a call? And we do that all the time in dispatch, right? You know, you got an emergency going on and you've got other things going on that you got to take care of. So I felt like, yeah, it does translate over. Um,
Well, good.
but yeah, so that's kind of the gist of the test. The other county that I took the test with it was a paper, actually a written test. And that was a little bit more difficult because just the logistics to get a handwrite everything versus I'm more of a typer. I hear something and I could type it perfectly. When I'm listening to something and then I have to handwrite it, I'm like, I can't keep up because it's just my mind and my pen can't go that fast. So I found that to be a little bit more difficult. I haven't gotten the results of that yet, so we're still waiting. But assuming you pass the test, then you move on to an interview. If you pass the interview, then you go through a complete background check, polygraph. They do a complete psychological evaluation on you. You meet with a doctor to do it, make sure you're not nuts and crazy.
Well, you're screwed.
I know, I mean, they'll just look at me and be like, who the heck are you? So assuming you meet all those benchmarks and pass, then they offer you a position. So I feel good about the interview that I did the other day with one of the places out here. They were pretty impressed with what they did. It's funny because the guy asked me in the interview, he goes, what exactly is a flight dispatcher? I've never heard of that. He did say, do you work in the tower?
Yes.
I'm actually the one with the wands out there, hand.
No, that's
No, no,
ATC, dude.
that's your traffic control.
Oh yeah, that's air traffic control. No, but I had explained to him like what a dispatcher does, and he goes, "Wow, I never even knew that existed." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, we're the nuts and bolts of the airlines that nobody ever knows about."
Yeah, it's a lot like 911 dispatching, except everyone's not on dying or trying to kill each other every time the phone
Well,
rings.
yeah, I mean, you have to do.
Sometimes.
So he goes, yeah, I think that translates pretty well to our job, And every question that he asked me, I could think of a dispatch reference in my job, like, oh, here's a scenario that happened to me in dispatch. Oh, here's another one. So, yeah, we'll see.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Obviously, we want you back in working for Acme North, but
We'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Joe, what have you been up to?
Well, still working for the military and health services. As things kicked off here and things got more intense as people started heading indoors because it's not as warm out anymore. I'm dealing with getting folks to go and do things now. So I've got just kicked another 6 of my unit members out the door on Monday. So yeah, it's an exciting time to be in the military. Can't talk too much about it, obviously, but yeah, it's been good. My wife got permanent residence. Her permanent residence came in, and her card came in, so we can leave the country again. It's been a long several months, so a year and a half almost now. Yeah,
Well, the good news is for the last 9 months you couldn't leave the country anyway, so
pretty much. Yeah, it's funny when the card came. I was planning on booking a honeymoon for around this time, and the card came in just in time. But of course, we can't go anywhere. So good thing I didn't book anything.
how about this, Joe? Naomi and I will go to Mexico for you two, and it'll be all right. We'll let you know how it is.
Yeah, you got to go visit her family though. Can't go to Cancun. You got to go to Torreon.
Darn, I was gonna go back to Cancun.
Ah,
Yeah, and my book came out, and I think about 6 people have bought it. So
Oh, that's right. Book Six Cats Press over on the Amazon.
yeah,
We got
yeah. So anyway, it is what it is, and I'm toying with ideas for another book. So working on some stuff, but it's really different working the Monday to Friday, 8 to 4, 9 to 5 thing. It's a really different life. Like I feel like I have more time off to do things every day, but not at the same time because by the time it's 8 or 9 o'clock, I'm getting ready to go to bed. You know, and I miss
Now,
nights. I miss being on nights because I almost worked exclusive night shift, and I miss it. I miss being awake all night. I'm such a night person.
Joe,
yeah.
I
I'm a
think I've
night
asked you
person
this
as
in the
well.
past, but because you're on furlough from your company, do you have to do anything to remain qualified, or are you kind of
So
evergreen right now?
yeah, so we can't. Even if they wanted us to, we were asking if they would let us go in once every 90 days to maintain our qual. No. So what's been lucky for us is transport has officially finally decided that they will extend the validity of our exams.
Okay.
So before it was 2 years. So after, if you don't dispatch for 2 years, you have to go rewrite the Transport Canada exams. They've doubled it now to 4 years, and they're saying that should, by the time that 4 years goes around, it's like they can't just change the regulation because it's actually written in the cars. So they'd have to expire. So they have to actually go and through an act of parliament amend the law. But they're saying by the time that 4 years rolls around, it'll be gone, and once you have your certificate, you'll have your certificate. So what we've been told is when we are going back, we're going to go back. We're going to have to do our spring and fall ground schools because we've missed those. Obviously, we're going to have to do our fan flight again, and then we'll have to do probably a shift, maybe two of OJT, depending on how comfortable you are with everything. Like I'm a pretty fast learner, so I'll pick it up real fast. Some people may prefer to have more, so they'll give you a number of shifts, however many, to do OJT sitting there with somebody, dispatching on their certificate, and then you'll do your comp check, and then you're qualified again. If that goes on for multiple years, I'm not sure if they'll have to put us through a new ground school or not. But we were all hoping we'd be back in September. I think that September is accurate, but it's going to be next September.
Yeah.
So
September's accurate. The year, not so much.
exactly, yeah, which is pretty lucky for me because as of right now, I'm on a contract with the military till July. So hopefully by then we're going to at least have an idea of when things are going to come back.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, hopefully this vaccine will kick off some normalcy, and there'll be enough people in the world that want to take the vaccine in order to get back to some sort of normalcy. And yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I took online training today, which is pretty funny because I don't technically have to take it, but I took it anyway because any training I get my soldiers to do, I do as well, just so I know what they're going through. And so today I was trained to give immunizations. So if you ever have the officers giving immunizations, then I think the world's on fire.
Well,
but
yeah,
but if needed, I can give you the shot now.
yeah, but if the
Technically.
officers are giving immunizations, that means there's plenty of immunizations to give, and they want it out in a rapid manner.
Yeah. Yes, we still haven't heard. We've heard in Canada about how healthcare is going to get it. We kind of have a vague idea that maybe, at least where I live, come May, June, July, that's when they'll start giving it out to people at large. And because I'm immune compromised, so I don't know when I will be doing it. When I'll be eligible, I might be eligible earlier as an at-risk person. I might not be. Who knows? So yeah, we'll have to see. Oshkosh in July would be fun. I've never been to Oshkosh, but if you guys are going, I want to come.
Oh, I
Yeah,
plan on being there.
Dude, I so want to be in Oshkosh in July.
In fact, I will fly down to Atlanta because Acme Canada flies to Atlanta. I'll fly down to Atlanta, then I'll come up with you in your plane.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I'll talk on the radio.
Yeah, no, Oshkosh is even if you don't come to Atlanta, you can go directly to Oshkosh. I've learned over the 2 or 3 years there that you can actually go flying every single day at Oshkosh, and you can go out and be in the craziness. You can go out and do a day trip out of Oshkosh if you don't actually want to stay at Oshkosh. But even, early morning flight before things get too crazy or good in the afternoon, you can go out, you go flying, and you can bring your airplane back to the same parking spot. So, yeah, I have no issues with even going flying at Oshkosh. It's something I've learned. The last time we weren't there this summer, but last summer I learned that you can actually take your airplane, go out and fly, and they'll just let them know where you need to go to bring your airplane back, and they'll get you back to where you belong.
That's awesome. That's great service.
Yeah, it's the greatest place on earth.
Yeah, the only air show like that I've ever been to was Sun and Fun. Almost a decade ago now. Shit.
Sun and Fun,
Yeah.
Oshkosh Light.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to go visit my best buddy lives up in Charlotte, so maybe I'll combine that into a big trip.
You got to start making your reservations. Well, like a couple months ago, I think, for Oshkosh. So
If you wanted a hotel, shoot,
Well-
just camp, brother.
well,
I'll bring my Aussie swag.
You stay at Dispatcher Gregg's house and just drive up every day.
I drove to Madison after the one night that I stayed out there. I'm like, oh God, I can't camp. I am not a camper.
Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and put a bow on this one, and I'm gonna edit it tomorrow because it's late and I'm tired.
Yeah,
what
we've
I'm
already
gonna
been on
edit?
for almost an hour and a half now, so.
I know this is going pretty
3Z, come on, 3Z.
quick. Ugh, I'm tired. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. You can find show notes for this episode at flyinlife.com/2020/67. You can find us on social media on Twitter at flyinlife, facebook.com/flyinlife, and Instagram is flyinlife. Gregg, where are you at online?
Facebook, Twitter, DXDude78, Facebook, everywhere. You find me, I'm there.
Joe?
Mars Hill is the name of the book. Six Cats Press is the name of the company, and facebook.com/6catspress. And yes,
Mars
RV,
Hill.
that would be badass.
Yes, let's do that.
It's like a hotel that's camping.
I would do
That's
that.
great. Yeah, let's get the coffee fun out. What? Oh, wait, we don't have a coffee fun. Oh, we do. You can support us on Patreon. You can just go over to patreon.com and you can help support us with our dreams of I don't know what we're dreaming about.
The
Shoot.
dreaming of me not causing feedback somehow with my headset.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works out.
Professional microphone fund.
Yeah, and then email any questions or comments or anything like that, contact at flyinlife.com. Opening and closing music is from bensound.com, bumper music from purpleplanet.com, and yeah, that's it.
See you in the summer.
Hey, no, we're going to get back to it.
We're getting back to it, dang it. As soon as this is over and we're off the air, we're going to set another date for another podcast, so I always do good when I have end dates in sight. All right, so we're gonna put a bow on this one. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great one. Until next time, see you later. Where's the closing music?
Yes, I have a Logitech. That's the one that's
And
causing
we're clear.
problems.
There you go. Whatever. All right. Bye, everyone on YouTube. We're gonna have a production meeting now.
Yar.
Arg. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks, James, and anyone else that's been in the chat room watching us. All right. See ya.
Pot.